member of the Touchstone Gallery, which has been around for many years and has, how many artists? 50. A lot of artists belong to the Touchstone Gallery. It's like an artist co-op, and their work is on display this evening. We appreciate their letting us use this space and not charging us their usual fee. They're letting us enjoy this space courtesy of the Touchstone Gallery artists. We appreciate they let us use their chairs also. Otherwise, there's going to be an SRO night. And we're celebrating publication of Life in Me Like Grass on Fire, the newest anthology from the Maryland Writers Association, which, like the Touchstone Gallery, is it's an artist cooperative. There are a lot of their members, their chapters throughout the state of Maryland. Writers get together and critique one another's work, promote each other's work, attend different events, have an annual conference. It's a great group to belong to. And the poems in this anthology are all love poems of one sort or another. And you'll be hearing these poems this evening. And I want to thank my friend Tim, who's going to videotape the event so we can YouTube it and put it on the MWA website. So that's really cool. So, and I wanted to start with a poem. Since all day long we've been talking about the weather, no matter where we are, even if it's air conditioned, the weather has been an issue. And so I wanted to just start with a couple of stanzas by Billy Collins. Snow Day. Before you know it, it will be January. So just a little bit to cool everyone down and set the tone for the evening. Close your eyes and think of it. Today we woke up to a revolution of snow, its white flag waving over everything. The landscape vanished, not a single mouse to punctuate the blankness. And beyond these windows, the government buildings smothered, schools and libraries buried, the post office lost under the noiseless drift, the paths of trains softly blocked, the world fallen under this falling. In a while, I will put on some boots and step out like someone walking in water, and the dog will porpoise through the drifts, and I will shake a laden branch, sending a cold shower down on us both. Didn't that feel good? Don't we love Billy Collins? There's a reason he's the poet laureate. This is one of my own poems. It's on the other end of the climate spectrum. It's about baseball. It's for my son Ian. He's here somewhere, but this is for you, Ian. It's a baseball poem called Botner Field. Little boys gather in the growing June heat, ready to field, bat, and pitch. They are all stars in their red uniforms, helmets, batting gloves. Outfitted for the mound or field, they are sure of everything. Bat and crack, dugout cheers, mosquito droning at the ear, fly balls and knuckles and curves. Hey, batter, batter, batter. Sun of desire, the ball soaring to the outfield, the boy who misses, the one who throws. I think baseball was invented for summer because they don't move very much. Is not the reason for baseball. I don't think it's a very athletic sport. So. It involves a certain athleticism that's geared toward the heat. And I was going to read a few of my own poems about boxing so we could all feel really hot and accomplished. This one's called Inscriptions. And it's interesting, I read an essay by George Plimpton who was talking about Muhammad Ali when he won the world heavyweight title, and he had inscribed on his mattress, "You are the greatest in the world." He had written all of these things on his mattress to motivate himself, and this is in that vein. It's called Inscriptions. The boxer inscribes his gloves with a to-do list of furies, black ink on yellow leather, near the laces pulled so tight the wrists cannot bend. His trainer has made the delicate twists of wrapping his hands, the intimate gestures of dressing. He has whispered final combinations, as if the boxer could forget the hours of muscle memory, shadow boxing and conditioning drills, breathless minutes when he could hardly lift his hands and eyes. His body fires with singular knowledge, hit or be hit. He will not be able to read the words with his guard up, gloves to his nose, but he will remember them in the final round when he embraces his opponent, not like lovers, but two angry, tired men, feeling for each other's weakest point, vulnerabilities and tender places, maneuvering for a final blow, whispering secret aggressions, waiting for the other to fall. I did this whole series of boxing poems because I take boxing classes in this perpetual fight against my own age. Teaching the girls. After dinner, the girls shadow box in the kitchen. There is small space for their joy, their blonde energy as they bob and weave near the counter. I warn them about burners, coffee pots, and knives. Metaphors fly. They are merry and warm. I am their crazy coach, reciting combinations as what's left of dinner burns. Chin down, guard up, light on your feet, snap that punch. I have been training them for years for the punches life will land, the world beautiful and brutal, every day and extraordinary. I want them ready to slip through it as we do this night, so wired by their own lives, nothing crowding them in a corner, the whole arena of my love resounding in their laughter. And well, I have two more boxing poems. I really like boxing. I'm not very good at it, but I like it. And I don't box, so I get hit. But I don't think I would like that either. Engage the hips. So many years spent regretting them. Too broad, flabby, wide for jeans, precursors to thighs. I could never love my pear-shaped form. Now Ron wants them engaged. They are the center of attention. Without their punches, without their power, my punches go nowhere. Work your booty, he admonishes, and for once I think they might be worth their weight in gold. Engage the hips, he shouts. Because I can go nowhere without them, I listen. And I thought I'd end with it. I wrote a couple of haiku about boxing. So I'll just read a couple of those. I also wanted to read poems that were easy to absorb because it's so hot, you know, your brain just doesn't want to do anything. So this is called Boxing and Bifocals. I wear them so I can read the fine print on my opponent's gloves. Like a girl. My trainer admires my form, perfect, strong. I did not know it was mine. Swinging. Jab, cross, uppercut, jab, cadence of punches, stopping, heavy bag, swinging. And in boxing, I'm the oldest one there by about 20 years, so everyone calls me Miss Janice. And, call me. Miss Janice, they ask. Medicine ball weight, okay. I slam it harder. They just think I'm old. I could kick their butts, that's what I always think. So let me sort out my, I'm also the MC, and I have bios that everyone was nice enough to send. A couple of our poets couldn't make it tonight. The heat was too much for them. So it's a shame because I was really looking forward to hearing some of their work. And the poems I was looking forward to aren't in the anthology, so we'll have to have another reading. But I thought we could start with Heidi. Right? That's okay.
Yeah.
Heidi Moorhurst has been a teacher of young children for 24 years and writes primarily for that audience. She has published 2 collections of poetry for young people, Pumpkin, Butterfly, Poems from the Other Side of Nature, and Squeeze, Poems from a Juicy Universe. I love that title, which is for sale from the back of her minivan, or maybe this evening. She lives in Bethesda with her partner and their 2 children and is thrilled to have 3 of her poems included in Life in Me, her first published work for adults. So Heidi, what do you think?
Good evening. I'm excited because my whole family is actually here. Mixed in with my poems, I'm going to read one by Anne Bracken, who is one of the, I have to assume that she's one of the sensitive population who couldn't venture out in this heat. And so I wrote to her and said that I would be happy to read one, so I'll toss that in where it seems appropriate. Because I teach kindergarten and first grade, I was a little undone when Laura Chauvin, who is the editor of Life in Me, Like Grass on Fire, asked me to write the introduction for the section on erotic love. thought this might compromise my reputation, you know, as an early years specialist, but it worked out okay because the section really turned out to be called Love Floods the Senses. And the poems in this section range far and are not strictly limited to erotic love. The first one that I'm going to read is called The Polka, and it's an autobiographical poem. Kind of unusual for me because it looks like this on the page. It's much more of a prose work and much wordier than I usually go for. How many people here have actually ever danced a polka? More than zero. Okay, so that's helpful. So a polka is like waltz on speed. And as much vertical motion as you can get in a polka, the more fun you will have. And that's how I danced it when I was a kid, the polka. It was toward the end of the evening, during request time, and here was a girl who loved to polka so much. The forward oom-pa-pa rolling the dancers in a huge circle around a circle spin that sucked in the whole hall, even as it threatened to throw the partners apart by centrifugal force, so that her body was tight in the arms, loose in the legs, smooth across the floor, but bounding in the ear and knee and heart. That she danced with Dr. Katz, a stout sociologist with thick smudged glasses and a gray beard, who was Amy Katz's father, but so much older than her own, who would have danced with her himself if it hadn't been too queer, as if dancing a polka with Dr. Katz weren't queer. But he wasn't very tall, and unlike the boys her age, who were good for clogging or the salty dog rag, he knew how it felt to hold a woman right up against his chest. And so they danced, careening along the ragged edges of the room, watched by no one in particular, drinking paper cups of cider at the tables pushed against the walls, finding their way through wide canals and narrow gaps, and without a word, out of breath among the thumping speakers, finding unexpectedly a common balanced rhythm, and in it 1 minute of lifting joy. And then she caught her heel, or he caught his. And they flailed, but fell, and there she lay, a girl of 14, tumbled under the baggy brown corduroy of an old man's weight, and everybody stopped and stared, and gathered against the red ceiling above them, and even after she had been helped up, had laughed, had rested her twisted ankle, and danced the springing Israeli Cupid, she lay there under Dr. Katz, frozen on the parquet floor. I have a poem in the section called Family and Friends. My daughter has requested that I not read it. It is about her. She was much, much younger then. So instead, this is where I will read Anne Bracken's poem, another poem of childhood and family called The Pediatrician. I sit on the cold metal examining table, swinging my legs back and forth over the edge. Dr. Frey asks, "What's the matter, Anne?" Then tells me to stick out my tongue and say, "Ah." He presses the stethoscope cold on my chest and then cold on my back, listening for some clue. I have a tummy ache every morning when I wake up, and it hurts when I'm in school. The doctor turns to my father and says, "She needs to eat more breakfast." Somewhere deep in my 7-year-old body, I know more breakfast cannot take the place of my mother's Chanel No. 5, clinging like a silk scarf as she kisses me goodnight or reads me a story. More breakfast will never replace her arms snuggled around my waist as she reads Caps for Sale on the black and white striped sofa. As he walks out the door, I hear Dr. Frey ask my father how his wife and the new baby are doing. Leaving the room together, looking back over their shoulders and smiling sadly at me, they whisper stories about someone who is nervous and someone breaking down. I wasn't going going to read the other one that Anne asked me to read, but because we had the Billy Collins introduction, I think I do have to read Seducing Billy Collins as he finishes a stanza. Children, plug your ears. There you are, working late in your laureate's study. Every now and again, you break for a cigarette, a shot of bourbon, and a glance at me. I know you want me. As I sit here in this wood-paneled room, lips parted, blonde hair tousled and curled. I've heard the whispered desires as you turn the catalog pages to find me, straddling the chair, clad in my pink spring leopard push-up bra, padded with gel for extra lift. I can feel your fingers run over the top of my glamour garter skirt, cotton candy pink, trimmed with pearls and French ribbons. You, the same Billy Collins who seduced Emily Dickinson, stripping her line by line. I hide myself within my flower, removing the gossamer layers of her long white dress, that wearing on your breast, fastened with mother-of-pearl buttons. You, unsuspecting, wear me too, finally peeling away the whalebone corset and undoing the last hook and eye. And angels know the rest, as the shy lady of Amherst sighed. When you finish that line, wild nights, I'll be waiting here on the next page. Wild nights, wearing my only my bra and matching lace panties from the Animal Attraction collection. Were I with you, my doo-wop plum passion lips parted, wild nights should be anticipated, ready to recite. So that was two by Anne Bracken. Give her a little clap. She'll feel it. Now then, these are my books for children. This one came out in 2005. This one is from 2009. And I'm going to read one of the poems in this book. I chose it after I got here when I saw that there were more than one boy in the audience. This poem is called Me Boy, You Plant. After recess on Wednesday, red and sweaty, I fall into my chair with the wobbly leg, and there you are, plant, in your raggedy pot, my pal next to the teacher's desk. Forgotten in the corner after Friday's fire drill, you're as thirsty as I am, plant. Your dusty leaves drooping just like my bangs flop and stick to my forehead. What we need, plant, is a real fire, just a small one, the kind that would make the ceiling sprinklers rain down on your dry dirt, on my hot head. And now, I'd like to say that my partner and I are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, and therefore we have decided to get married. And this poem appears in the Love Floods the Senses section. It is dedicated to Fiona. There are parts that I wish she would step up and read herself. They are her words.
Maybe she would.
Maybe she would. Ooh. I just have to find it. Here we go. All right, we have not rehearsed this.
Still was one.
No, there's two. So you have to do this one
Okay.
and this one. Mouthful. You don't want a bite or sip. You ask me for a mouthful, and so I give you one. And in return I get an eye full of stretch, smooth and collarbone, rooster head and rude display, an ear full of mad meals and dangle stars, sudden snorts and, hello, cola, a nose full of salt, fleece and live vanilla, isatis and
Whip up pudding.
a skin full of swoop, clench and hover kiss, spoon hot reach and mid-back squeeze. You asked me for a mouthful, and so I give you one.
fun. And thank you for reading Ian's poems, because I was thinking of the Billy Collins one when I was thinking of Snow Day. So, our next reader is Fernando Chiano. Did I say that? The third, who's the vice president of the Maryland Writers Association. I could give you more information about it. He is the author of From the Bottom Up, an op-ed column that appears on theurbantwist.com. He's been featured in the Baltimore Book Festival, Stoop Storytelling, and The Signal on WYPR. In his spare time, he volunteers to lead workshops for Writing Outside the Fence, a program for the ex-offender community, as well as at the Groff Bridge Correctional Facility. He was recently awarded a B grant for his writing by the William G. Baker Jr. Memorial Fund, and we're glad that he braved the heat and the MARC train and journeyed down from Baltimore today. So.
Hi, how's everybody doing this evening? Like Janice mentioned, I do have copies in the back there. If you love the poetry here tonight, you'll love the anthology. It does have 50 of the best poets in the Maryland area in this one anthology. Probably one of the finest anthologies I've ever read. And we're offering it for $11. It's a few dollars off the list price. Plus you get a free matching tote bag. You have the tote bags, don't you?
Yeah. But I
Oh, I hit it.
Oh, I was like...
I'm out. One of these beautifully designed, cheap tote bags are free to you with purchase of a book. And of course, I encourage you to join the Maryland Writers Association if you're not a member, blah, 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 as I'm officially supposed to do. Anyway, I'm fortunate enough to have 2 poems here, as well as 2 poems in the anthology, which I thought would be perfect for the Madness of Love section. So it was a bit of a surprise to have Laura contact me and let me know that A, they were going to go into the Love of Nature section, and then secondly asked me to write the introduction for the Love of Nature section. But that's the way things happen. I'll read both poems that are in the book. They're both pretty short. And it'll become very obvious from go that I have a fascination, some might say an obsession with the moon. To wit, the first poem is called Lunacy. I love to see the moon at noon, high hanging in a cerulean sky, fighting the bright sun, proving her own power does not rely on his absence. This one is called Phase. Waxing. She approaches cautiously, knowing her desire, but afraid of the price, the loss of everything. Livelihood, trust, reputation, child, everything that she's fought so hard to build again. She's only ever completely full for a mere moment before lapsing, slipping back as slowly as she came. Waning. When she walks away, she takes with her the last vestiges of hope I can carry. I was virtually dry when night finally fell, revealing her glow. And now she slides slowly, solemnly into the dark, leaving me alone under a black sun. Her risks are greater, but mine may just prove fatal. This is, I think of it as a love poem. Also perhaps a dysfunctional love poem. It's called Snapshot. Now this is a little R-rated, so if you want to hide your kids, this is the time to do it. It's called Snapshot. Staring at the only photograph I have left, Easter, your head wrapped neatly in a paisley scarf, alabaster skin set off by the scarlet of your top, all 5-0 of you dwarfing over the 3 of us. How small we were, and how as big as the world you seemed to us back then. Holding Jojo's fragile little hand, Jojo in his blue denim overall with a strap dangling off his shoulder, and his Buster Brown dew, free hand gripping one link of the chain link. Your other arm held tight against Kiki's heart. Kiki, with her baby doll dress and her baby doll smile and her white knee highs. And there I am, the little man, all grown up at 8 or 9 or whatever, hair, as always, waving wildly in the wind, styling in my plaid polyester belted lounge lizard jacket with matching bell-bottom bottoms, foot propped up, arms spread like I own the world, like I knew I did. All of us there at the base of Lady Liberty, Manhattan, and its now extinct towers barely bursting through the fog, celebrating not God, not Jesus, not life nor liberty, nor the pursuit of happiness, but love. The love we could squeeze out of this fucked up family that we share, that we accepted for better or for worse than that, because how can we forget those times? I stare at this, the only photograph I have left, and I imagine the others, the ones I don't have, the ones lost, the ones destroyed, even the ones that never existed. Like the picture I never took of you during one of your days for days, lounging and lost in your euphoria, hiding from problems I still don't quite understand. Like the picture I never took of you bruised, battered, and beaten by whatever flavor of the month macho sick monster you were sampling. Like the picture I never took of you the day you cashed your first paycheck, leaving the drugs, the drink, the drunks, and the drama packed away knee-deep with your past. Or like the picture I never took of you bloated, bleeding, and bleached on that hospital bed, your past unpacking itself to prevent your progress. Your present, your presence, your life briefed down to vital signs and bad mistakes you had already paid for with interest. Staring, as I tend to do quite often, more often than I like to admit, at the only photograph I have left, I am left wanting more. More than these faded, foggy, fucked up fragments that I can't quite feel. These pieces of memory that float around in my head, incomplete and inane, that I can't touch or hold or strum like a stringless guitar or cry on. They don't have the power of this picture, this one last picture where life was set aside one Easter Sunday, just so that we could remember that even the fog could not hide the love captured in the face of Lady Liberty. Sorry. And now back to my moon obsession. This one is not in the anthology. This one is called Praying in the Temple of the Moon. I went to church last night, the first time in a score of years, but it was unlike any service I'd ever attended. I climbed onto the rooftop, slipped under a cloud-capped canopy of night sky, the fullness of the moon, my altar, the sounds of a Remington summer night, traffic up and down Howard, on and off the JFX, my choir. For a while, I just sat there, feeling my place in the universe, a floating fleck, connected to everything. Then I slipped out of my clothing, buried myself before my moon. I prayed like I'd been taught to pray by the witnesses, the Baptists, the Mormons did it best. Show gratitude for your blessings. Ask for what you want. It was harder than I first imagined. My blessings have been nearly innumerable of late. My needs seemed so greedy after the universe's generosity. But I just knew. And I knew the universe knew, you know? I repeated my pact. For as much as I get, I'd be sure to give back. And I sealed my mystical missive with the holiest act of love. I awoke to find my moon had almost completed her track. Soulless soul creeping up, his overbearing light threatening to hide her for another night. But my service was done, my ritual complete, my rights restored. It was not the churches of old full of preachers teaching Jesus and right from wrong, defining evil, but in the temple of the moon, in a pew carved from the universe itself, I was closer to God than I'd ever been. I was happy. I was whole. Thank you.
Our next reader is Danuta Koskasika, who is a poet, writer, translator, and photographer. She's the author of 2 books of poetry translations from the Polish and 2 chapbooks of her original poems written in English. She's published in many literary magazines and anthologies in the United States and Europe. She's a co-founder of One Tree Poetry events at the Carroll Arts Center in Westminster, Maryland, and co-editor of the literary journal Loch Raven Review. And we're happy that she came down from Kingsville for this event.
Thank you, Janice, for organizing this wonderful event. I have a special feeling. Maybe it's because it's such a special place. Maybe because we were so brave to come here in this horrible weather. I mean, and I'm also very grateful to my husband who drove me. And I'll just go ahead, I guess. I have two poems in the anthology, and I decided to read the one on page 38, if you have there. And that's because of the place we are in. It's one of a series of poems I wrote after visiting northern Mexico. Each of the towns I visited got a poem, and this town was called San Luis Potosí. And the title is San Luis Potosí Beginning. The wind weakened to a murmur, a rose unpretentious in harmonic pink, sheets of pure blue Mexican sky, and against it, ready to unzip and burst, palm leaf. Not fulfilled yet, out only 3 inches, wriggling in the breeze when I leave for church. Indian summer in the Churrigueresque gold chapel. Under Madonna's soft gaze, mother's face, above her infant boy. Their dark hair like Senior Jesus. His body exposed in each church, with blood splurged from wounds so intense I can't look again. The pudgy mouse cooks in her nipple, hurts. She shivers, yet smiles at me, smiling at them. I decided to go with the theme of painters and paintings. And the next poem features elements characteristic of Chagall. Can you hear me all right? I mean, it's difficult for me because I have a very soft voice, and without microphone, I'm at a big disadvantage. After Chagall, in my village, down the street, horses graze next to the steepled church. I never saw my neighbors dance. And yes, I met the groom and bride, clad in blue jeans at the crab feast. But their long planned wedding I did not see. The goat showed on the right when I drove with my son. My son's cello is still bigger than he. But last night, his eyes smiled when he talked to his cello and rose allegro in the bouquet of Vivaldi's concerto. So is this all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I didn't know that there would be so many children-related poems. And I have another one. And in this poem, our son is even smaller than the boy playing cello, who is of course now a grown-up boy. And the poem is called at the cafe, and I thought of this poem because it's so hot, and we are driving back to Baltimore from South Carolina along the ocean, so it wasn't such an oppressive heat as we have here. And we stopped for a meal in this place that I'll never forget. So it's a sonnet titled At the Cafe. Smell of fried fish, packed parking, swinging doors, crunchy peanut shells scattered on the floor, car plates on walls, General Emiliano Zapata, Coca-Cola girl, beer, cold. Outside, low windows, slow swaying tall grass. Inside, the waiters at low tide. Long wait for our main course. Clatter, laughter, thick air. Ceiling fan splits and reassembles waves. Entangled in noise, music plays somewhere. From his small bowl, our son feeds boiled peanuts to the fish on his beach shirt, dozes off. We fish from our big bowl, crack the shells, catch bits of notes, fragments of the familiar seeping through the maze. We make out the song. One more painting poem. This was a specific painting that I even meant to bring, but maybe it's better that I did it so you can really run your imagination. I bought this painting at the Art in the Park, that's the title of the annual event in Westminster, Maryland. An artist paints the event. Where is the second turtle? Concerned that the time is running out, she counts the animals. The line is casual, straying to the sides. Black rhino flanking a grey elephant. Only one hare, no rooster in sight. Why aren't they prepared, paired up? The clouds weigh down on the massive ridges, pinned by lightning cracks in the blackened sky. At least there is no violence in the crowd. The cow, udder full, looks past the muted lion to the moors, away from the vessel and the passageway. The water is dark. Highlights fall on a blur of doves and two swans painted in the heart. Are they caught boarding or leaving the ark? So that would be my poems, and then I was asked to read something in Polish, which I'm very happy to do. And as Janice mentioned, I translated two books of poems by Lidia Kos, who lives in Poland, Warsaw, and she's my mother, so it's a double pleasure. And I first read it in English, and then in Polish. It's a very short poem. Awareness. Rushing with the river, swayed on the lake's waves, tossed up by the white water stream, hauled by a hurricane onto enraged waters of the sea rising over the banks, holding on by the truss of salt. Świadomość, spiesząca bystrą rzeką, kołysana falami jeziora, wirująca rwącym potokiem, przerzucana huraganem na występujące z brzegów wody wzburzonego morza, utrzymująca się na powierzchni prawdą są.
I think came down on a train with Fernando. They had quite an adventure between Baltimore and Washington. We knew you'd have adventures. She was born on Thanksgiving Day in California many years ago, is what she says. She is a poet, writer, artist, and her work has appeared in Poetry Review, Blur, a 9/11 anthology, the Locked Raven Review, and the Shattered Wig Review. So Marceline, we're glad you're here.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for organizing this event. It is great to be here and surrounded by all of this beauty. I stuck with the theme. My poem in the anthology was in the madness of love, and so apropos or not, I thought I would take that theme and run with it because I have several poems that are related. So they're fairly short. With the heat today, I felt like I would stick with short for my own benefit so I could read them quickly and be able to make it through, and hopefully for everybody else so you can hear poems. So the first one is called I Love the Lost Boys. I love the Lost Boys, the creative geniuses in stovepipe jeans with the raw, hungry look. The bright boys with big words and ideas who philosophize, make me swoony. I drink their words, ideas in like some love lush, some word whore. I throw myself into them, a project that I never tire of, filling their great need with all of myself until I sit in the pocket of their stovepipe jeans, a torn frayed remnant, chanting, love me, love me, love me, in Morse code, while they sit, smoking cloves and reading Sartre. So I feel like some of these are like little snapshots of, you know, whatever. Little snapshots of things. So another one is just called, it's untitled, I'm really interested in nature, and I get very inspired by it, and I also tend to see a lot of parallels in it. Grew up in Missouri and spent a lot of time by creeks and rivers and watching stars. So this is just called Darling. Darling, I am mortar to your pestle, you grind me down. I am flower to your bee, you drain me of life, then leave for another. I am earth to your feet, you step on me, and I lay still. But on a new day's rising, as sun and moon vie for attention, I may shift suddenly and see you fall into my abyss. So, the next two are, one is called Matron, and this is based on the fact that I got married when I was 26, and the year after was in a wedding, and I was the matron of honor. And for some reason, I was sort of obsessed with the fact that I was being called matron at the time, and so I couldn't quite get it out of my head. And it was a friend from Missouri who insisted on listing me as the matron of honor, and I tried to talk her out of it and failed. So it's called matron. Matron. Noun. Number 1, a wife or widow. Number 2, a woman superintendent of domestic arrangements in an institution. Number 3, a woman attendant or guard, as in a jail. Webster's Dictionary. I jumped the broom, tied the knot, crossed the threshold, and here I am. In a boundless room where women sit, in aluminum folding chairs, knit and chat. The air buzzes like flies over a sweltering sky. One naked light illuminates. Their calloused hands, beehived hair, and thin shift dresses. I look for windows that are not there. I swear, I didn't know. I protest to an imagined judge and jury. Piles of sweaters lay at each woman's side as they continue on with knit, purl, chat, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I am going to read 2 short ones, one from the anthology and one called Alien, which was in Shattered Wig. Alien. He wrapped himself in blue gauze sky, draped stars around his waist, wore Saturn's rings on his fingers like a 2-bit Liberace. He painted his body with Martian dust. He was now alien to me. And the last is called Open Heart Surgery. And in part this was because I've been doing yoga on and off for about a year or so now. And there's a yoga position that's all about a certain posture where it's about opening the heart and opening the heart chakras. And it's done actually in heat, very much like we've had today, which is the idea is to make you more limber and open. And I was thinking of that as well as thinking about the other sense of when you get your heart opened up. So it's called Open Heart Surgery, and it's in the anthology. Opening my heart may require some drastic action. A surge of electricity, a jolt to the system, a shot of something to make the nerves tingle again. There was a time when a man tall and thin could do that with a look, a compliment, any number of lies. But it's taken a pounding since then. Clogged with empty promises, filled up on sweet nothings, delicious, addictive, unsatisfying. Today, I am in your hands. Knock me out. Make me woozy and wanting. Suck me dry. Cut me open, but use the scalpel, not the scammer and steel I've been working with. Carve your initials into my aorta, then we will know. Leave me recovering, alone in my bed, my heart in its rib-white cage, beating me to sleep. Thank you.
Organizing this, you just send out an email to the MWA list and say, is anyone interested in coming? So it's fun to hear the different poets and the different takes in the world. It's exciting to meet everyone. Our next reader is Mary Westcott, who began writing poetry 18 years ago and has been published in more than 40 journals. She's published 4 chapbooks of poetry. She holds a doctorate in social psychology from Maryland and a master's in writing from Johns Hopkins. She was retired from NIH and consulted with a government contractor. Her interests include travel, reading, film, and theater. So, Mary.
Thank you. Since there are children in the audience, I thought I'd read something from a little self-published book I did of kids' poems. I'm kind of proud of it because I just did it myself. So, and it's also about, the first poem is about oceans. So, the ocean waves splash white and wet on the sand. I jump up to go in the cold water, then swim with a small minnow. I wish I could reach the dolphins, but instead I go ashore to build a sandcastle as big as a mansion. I get hot baking in the sun, so I run into the cold water again. So if you want to look at that and pass it around. And the next poem is not from the anthology. It's also about beach. I'm trying to keep to the cool theme. It's called Walking on Nag's Head Beach. I step over stones and shells, dipping my feet into the water's cold tang, while snowy egrets, white as clouds, arch their necks. I wonder if the soul ebbs and recedes like the surge of waves against the shore. Do silverfish, deflated on the gritty sand, willingly give up their tiny bodies? The ocean teaches ceaseless pleasures, movement toward no end in particular, and patience, the sand crab poking its head out of its hole in low tide, hungry, then peeking around corners and retreating. The froth of whitecaps flows onto the beach, less furious than in yesterday's storm. I watch the flock of brown pelicans skimming the swells in their southward trek, and wonder if they gauge their larger purpose as they fly. And the next one is from the nature section of the book, and it's about fiddler crabs. The sun's rays light upon marsh hawks first. The male fiddler rises to take up post outside a creek tunnel, his dominant claw a gaping dinosaur mouth. He stretches to the height of moon snails, attempts to draw the next female into his lair, fails, moving sideways through spartina grass tall as trees to scavenge for another mate. A female fiddler sets out to entice with her slender arms. The male swings his appendage, beckoning, bending at the knees like a bodybuilder. After they mate, he moves on to his next prey, barely resting his giant claw, fighting off other males along the way. She lays her eggs, attaches them to her belly, scurries to the water's edge to wash them. Most of her offspring will be eaten by birds or fish. She traipses over salt meadow grasses, a golden plover hovering overhead. And the next one is also in the nature section, but it's a little tricky at the beginning, and it's a sonnet. It's called Slow Music. I wonder what it's like to tremble at touch when fingers need precisely right, to lounge and lie about with belly white and wide exposed, with paws that resemble a nun's hand in prayer, to stretch, to hum on a quilted bed, your chin asleep in furry neck, ruffled and heaped like thistles in cold gardens, body numb. I gaze at those eyes as they slowly sink, half closed in murmurs, expression dazed, lips in a half smile, mouth pink and prepared, purring slow music without having to think. Is that meditation in your gaze, or just a kind of love, hushed and rare? And the last one is, it's called an ekphrastic poem, which is writing about art, and it's called After Picasso's Final Self-Portrait. The green fawn flees, undaunted by absinthe or distortion, hungers for a face big green, nostrils greedy for tears, circling. Abiding desire to flee, greedy for steeples and stars, undaunted by figs, his face spikes blue, steeple black against the dangling retina of a moon. Overcome by blazing sun, the stubble of an earlobe or spiky beard, he rises in angles and lines, a greedy orphan circling. Thank you.
Reader is Frank Joseph. I tried to balance the men and women in the lineup, and so I saved Frank for last. Also, because I was looking forward to hearing Beauty and the Beast visit this hour. That was my prerogative as the organizer, is to make requests. So Frank's novel To Love Mercy has won 7 awards, including 1 from MWA, and entered a second printing. His story, The Coming of the Flags, placed 3rd in the MWA 2011 Story Contest. He is an award-winning direct marketing copywriter and former Washington Post journalist. Frank says he's not a poet, though, and getting Beauty and the Beast visit Elizabeth Arden into Life in Me was pure dumb luck. But it's a pure, good poem, and I think it would be a good one to end our evening on, so I hope you'll share it with us.
Well, thanks. Plug. Buy this. Gee, thanks. I guess I got it in. I can't, I gotta read something, I gotta change everything around. I ought to dedicate this to my doctor, actually. Actually, this is sort of a post-surgical poem. I feel it needs a little explanation. It's called Hospital Music. To silence your moans, we'd like to advise a simple trick. We glue a device to your suffering bones, half titanium, mined on planet X, half polycarbonate of the densest sort. We're here to report that once we're done, the plastic parts will glide one on the other as if they were God's idea. Now lie back and breathe as Perky Trish slides this needle up your sleeve and into your uncomplaining flesh, gives you a shove down the current of nothingness and suggests you'd best take it easy. This isn't crazy, not even irregular. There's nothing to it. We could do it in our sleep. You won't feel a thing. Go deep, try counting sheep, or softly sing as we saw off your leg. I'm going to read two poems by other people in this anthology who I admire a lot as poets. I'm going to have a harder time with the first one I'm going to read, which is shorter because it's a harder poem. It's going to be a harder poem for me to read, but I think it's worth people hearing because it really is good, and she's really a good poet. Her name is Kat Helen, and this poem is called Against Metal. He rues a disc of scored steel that in his blackened hands looks jeweled. I ask, he tells. Metal against metal can ruin a thing. Like the scar I trace across his forehead. What color are his eyes? The snow is blue. In dreams, he is not there, like Hooky from Hurt. Hurt sometimes the only proof we exist at all. In dreams, I see myself as words spinning sparks. Metal brings things to me. Metal repels. I am grinding glue into ice. I am surviving this love. And the other one, by one of my favorite poets anyplace in Maryland or elsewhere, it's Shirley Brewer. I'm really sorry Shirley can't be here. Shirley's a trip, and her poems are trips. And this is called Kentucky Valentine, and it starts with a prologue, quote, free shotgun and rose with purchase of offer good through February 14th. Newspaper ad for a Kentucky used car dealership. Lester Crisco lusts after the white Chrysler, a suction cup Jesus on the dash, a trunk big enough for a pride of pigs. He dishes to his boss at the tuna factory where the week before he'd won $200 playing Quickie Bingo on his morning break. Those born-again wheels, an overdue bath, and roses swaddled in saran answer Lester's prayer, a shortcut to Belinda Bunfab's front door. His plans for the weapon remain under wraps, although Lester relishes a shotgun wedding when the groom shoots off his mouth, aims a volley of vows at his bride's upholstered bosom. He'll fork over cash for a handful of shells, enough to scare off Belinda's dad, a surly dude with lips like fenders and a scruffy muffler around his neck that never passes inspection. Lester's boss ties a zillion tuna cans to the tailpipe so the Chrysler looks like a Jesus miracle, the one where the fish is multiplied. At the marriage feast, the whole town fills up with a chorus of Hallelujah Tuna beneath the Kentucky hubcap moon. Everybody goes home with a rose, amen, except for Belinda and Lester, who consummate their good fortune in the back seat of the, oh, Jesus, Chrysler. That's a great poem, folks. I love that poem. I love that poem. And finally, my poem, Beauty and the Beast, visited Elizabeth Arden. I'd like to thank my wife, Carol Jason, who's sitting in the front row, without whom this poem could not have occurred. We were in a poetry class, we were in a poetry workshop at the Writers' Center together, and the assignment was to write an assignment and then hand it to the other person. The other person had to write the poem about it. And Carol's assignment, which she wrote, which I just happened to get through the luck of the draw, was Beauty and the Beast, visit Elizabeth Arden. She asked me to come, pleaded, so I did. To please her is my only wish. I rose from my den in deep woods and loped the familiar path to her palace, glad to be summoned, sick with love. Her face, when she saw me, was all the sun I wanted. Her cheek on my muzzle stirred memories of things I never knew. It always does. Yet this place frightens me. It stinks like the cherimoya that falls to the ground and rots, not the rain-soaked leaves and sweet grass where I lie. These unguents clot my fur, cause my eyes to itch, and the harridan who rubs them in has cruel hands. Still, I endure it all for her sake. I would endure much more. She receives the lotions and emerges glowing. "Oh, beast," she says, touching my paw with her dear hand, "am I not more beautiful than before?" I am too ashamed, under my coat of oil, to tell her what is true.
Thank you, Frank. I think that gives us the juxtaposition, that poetry brings to our lives. Beauty and the Beast and Elizabeth Arden. I really enjoy it. So thank you for reading.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming. It was really nice of you to come out on such a hot night and catch the MARC train and deal with the electrical problems on the train and however else you arrived. I appreciate you coming. We have some wine and Arnold Palmer and I think a little bit of water in the back. Half lemonade, half iced tea. My kids love it. If you'd like to learn more about the Writers Association, I think if you Google us, you can learn more about joining. It's not very expensive and it's a good group of people. The Touchstone Gallery has a website. It's also an interesting organization that supports artists and has for a long time. And thanks to all of you, and thank you, Tim, for filming us. So, thank you. Have a good evening. Books for sale and free tote bags. One can never have enough tote bags.